At the absolute height of their power, House Targaryen ruled Westeros with fire and blood. They had a whole fleet of dragons that pretty much made them gods among men. But their golden age, it didn't end with an invasion or some big uprising. Nope. It ended when they turned all that fire on themselves in a brutal, nasty civil war we now call the Dance of the Dragon.
So, that's the big, tragic question, isn't it? How did they do it? Well, the answer lies in a story about a house so incredibly powerful, the only thing that could actually destroy it was itself. It's a story of ambition, of betrayal, and the catastrophic fallout from a family feud that literally ripped a continent apart.
Okay, so our story really begins with King Viserys I. Now, this guy was a kind, decent man who was in charge during this amazing era of peace and prosperity. Under his reign, the Targaryen dynasty was at its absolute peak with more dragons and dragon riders than at any other point in history. Things were good. But then, personal tragedy just shattered all that peace. King Viserys' beloved wife, Aemma, died in childbirth, and their newborn son, Balon, died with her. This left the king completely heartbroken, and, more importantly for the kingdom, without a son to inherit the Iron Throne. And that right there created a massive political crisis. You see, for 100 years, the Targaryens had followed one very simple rule. The throne passes to the eldest male heir. Period. This wasn't just, a suggestion. It was an unquestioned tradition that was meant to keep everything stable. To go against it was to challenge the natural order of things itself. And so, Viserys did the unthinkable. In a move that absolutely shocked the realm, he skipped over his wild, unpredictable brother Daemon and named his daughter Rhaenyra as his successor. He made all the lords of Westeros swear oaths to her, hoping that that would be enough to secure her claim. But in trying to stop one conflict, he accidentally planted the seeds for a much, much deadlier one. For a little while, it actually seemed like the king's plan might work, but Viserys' decision to get remarried, well, that wouldn't just bring him a new queen. Oh no, it would crack his family and his court right down the middle into two warring factions. And almost immediately, the court split into two teams. First, you had the Blacks, who were loyal to Princess Rhaenyra, the named heir. Then you had the Greens, who rallied around the new queen, Alicent Hightower, and her ambitions for her own son. The colors they wore to a party would soon become the banners of a civil war. And for 20 years, these tensions just simmered under the surface. Alicent, who was once Rhaenyra's best friend, became her biggest rival after she gave birth to a son, Aegon, a male claimant who, by tradition, really should have been the heir. Alicent and her very powerful father Otto never stopped whispering in the king's ear, pushing for Aegon, and all the while King Viserys just stubbornly stuck to his choice, thinking his word alone could hold the kingdom together. He was so wrong. And then, it happened. The moment everyone had been dreading for 20 years. The long, fragile peace that King Viserys had held together finally shattered when he died. And that long Cold War instantly turned hot. The Greens moved with terrifying speed. They hid the king's death, they locked down the capital, and they arrested, or just executed, anyone they knew was loyal to Rhaenyra. Before the actual heir on Dragonstone even knew her father was gone, her half-brother Aegon was being crowned in King's Landing. This wasn't a succession, it was a straight-up coup. When word of this betrayal finally reached Rhaenyra, her grief just turned into pure fury. Her birthright had been stolen. So, in response, her supporters crowned her queen on Dragonstone. And just like that, Westeros had two monarchs, both claiming the Iron Throne. War wasn't a maybe anymore, it was a certainty. Now, this was never going to be a clean war fought by distant armies. This was a family feud, and from the very first drop of blood, it plunged into this horrific cycle of revenge that would end up consuming them all. The point of no return came in the skies above a castle called Storm's End. Queen Alicent's son, Aemond, riding the absolutely colossal ancient dragon Vhagar, hunted down his young nephew, Lucerys. What maybe started as a mean-spirited chase ended in pure slaughter, as Vhagar just ripped Lucerys and his smaller dragon from the sky. An ambassador was murdered. A kinslayer was made. The line had been crossed. The response from the Blacks was swift and just unspeakably brutal. Rhaenyra's husband, Daemon, promised revenge, saying, "A son for a son." He hired two assassins, known only as Blood and Cheese, who snuck into the Red Keep. They cornered Aegon's wife and his children and murdered his 6-year-old son and heir right in front of his mother. With the murder of a child,
Any hope for peace, any chance of reconciliation was just gone, extinguished forever. The war that came next wasn't just about which Targaryen would get the throne. It became a war against the very source of their power, the dragons themselves.
At the beginning, Rhaenyra's team, the Blacks, had what looked like an unbeatable advantage. I mean, they had 3 times as many dragons as the Greens. On paper, this should have been a slam dunk.
But by the end of the war, fewer than 5 dragons were left alive. The skies above Westeros, which were once full of these incredible creatures, just fell silent. In their fight for power, the Targaryens had systematically slaughtered their own greatest weapons. Dragon fought dragon, and the only real winner was extinction.
So what about the people whose ambitions started this whole inferno? Well, this chart tells the whole grim story. Nobody won. Rhaenyra was captured and then fed to her half-brother's dragon. Aegon got to sit the throne for, 6 months before being poisoned by his own men? And the big warriors, Daemon and Aemon, they killed each other in this spectacular, suicidal dragon battle. All that ambition brought them nothing but a violent, ugly end.
The Dance of the Dragons didn't end with some triumphant victory speech or a big parade. It just fizzled out. The great houses were destroyed. The royal family was basically a collection of orphans and widows, and their dragons were almost all gone. House Targaryen survived, sure, but it was just a shadow of what it once was, and this war set it on the long, slow path to its eventual downfall.
And that's really the ultimate lesson of the dance, isn't it? It's this haunting reminder that when a house turns on itself, when ambition becomes more important than family, there are no winners. The pursuit of power, at all costs, ultimately cost the Targaryens everything they had.